Okay, this is the latest edition of Front Up, and I'm Whitey Willauer, and I've got a great guest today that's unknown to anybody in town, Mr. Michael Kopko.
Hi, Whitey. How are you?
Great. Michael, tell me what you're doing nowadays. You're talking about phasing out your experience with the Board of Selectmen, and now you're growing a beard,
Yeah.
you're well shaven, and you lost 50 pounds. What's going on?
Gee, that's a big question. A lot of big changes in my life. You know, I love sitting on the Board of Selectmen. I love doing that work. I've been doing it for 6 years. I like to think I've contributed something. But, you know, as you well know, doing that job, you end up having to say no to a lot of things that, things that I'd like to start saying yes to. I'm very interested in the theater, and I have a new venture, a theater venture with a partner, and we're doing a play here on Nantucket this January, and that venture will continue on, and that's sort of my job now, which is nice. I figure if I'm going to live hand to mouth, I might as well do something I enjoy all day rather than other things. So that's really the reason why. It's nothing to do with not enjoying being a selectman. It's very rewarding, as you know. Now,
this new venture, you're going to stage various opportunities here. What's going on there?
We are. We have a little nonprofit theater company, and we're trying to sort of build a company there. And one of the things we're doing is partnering with Theater Workshop of Nantucket, which is, as you may or may not know, has grown leaps and bounds over the last few years. They've really ramped up and done a great job. They're doing a lot more very high quality stuff. So what we want to do is produce a play here in January, and we've got all equity contracts, professional actors, and workshop that here, put it up here for a couple of weekends, and then the next step is to transfer that show out to other places.
I can remember when Dracula started out here.
Exactly.
And they said, well, it's just summer theater, and then it hits Broadway.
Exactly.
And it was the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're sort of the Princeton Township approach toward the Great White Way.
Yeah, and I think it works really well. It's really symbiotic because January is a slower time here. The Theater Workshop has the resources in terms of the theater and housing and infrastructure for box office and front of house things like that are really fairly quiet in January. So it's a time when actors and directors can come here and work intensively in a way that they like to work, you know, doing sort of transformative theater and working all day, and everybody gets paid, and it's just a very symbiotic relationship with Theater Workshop, and hopefully we can take the Theater Workshop name out into other places as well and help that to grow.
You would bring the name with you.
Absolutely.
Piggyback on Theater Workshop.
Yes.
Well, that might convey a good idea.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, Theater Workshop is like I say, has grown a lot, and I would love to see the Theater Workshop name get out there into the world too, as well as our company's called White Heron Theater Company. And the first thing that we're working on right now is taking this. We're doing a production of Candida, George Bernard Shaw's Candida, here on Nantucket, with professional actors. We open on January 20th and run for 2 weekends. And the next thing we're working on right now is taking that production to Edinburgh, Scotland in August for the Fringe Festival there. So we'll be going there in February to set that all up and transfer the show there. We've got interest from theaters in Maine for the summer, in Orlando for the fall. So hopefully we can transfer this production to a few other places. We'll do a couple other plays here with Theater Workshop, and then hopefully that'll become a cycle, sort of an annual cycle. Every January we'll workshop a play and get it up and going and then take it around.
Oh, Michael, we've been talking a lot about your theater career.
We have.
Your way to the top. And what about your career here in Nantucket politically? What do you feel are some of the more important political things that are facing us right now as a township?
If things get out of control, Dave Schultz is here. He's going to jump in and make sure nobody gets hurt. That's a good thing.
Okay.
Well, you know, Whitey, one thing that I think, and you know, you and our careers politically have been sort of parallel. You came in a year before I did, and
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years before I did, and but we've served together a lot on the board since I've been on the board, and I think it's fair to say that one thing that I'm really happy about is that I think the selectmen have taken a lot more control and responsibility and oversight of the town finances, which was always their responsibility. But I think we pay a lot more attention now. I mean, you know, when we first got on the board, selectmen rarely went to FinCom meetings and whatnot. Now I think we're very involved in that process, and that's important. And it's not to say that everything's fixed financially. It isn't. But I think the fact that we're involved in this has brought a lot of the issues into the light, and that we're in the process of fixing them. And that's, you know, the first step in fixing things is identifying the problem. So I think that's a big change.
I can remember when we said, do we have an audit committee?
Yeah.
And everybody looked around the room and said, what do you need one for?
Yeah, well, and to your credit, you got that ball rolling again, and that's been a very, very important bit of business since we've been on the board.
So beyond the finances and the audit, what are some of the other issues that you feel?
Well, I think that we've gotten at least a hold on the wastewater issue on the island, which was something that I don't think we really were looking at the long view when I first got on the board. And I'm really, you know, again, it's a very complicated, very expensive proposition, and no, we haven't solved all the problems, but at least we're now involved in identifying long-range issues and how to fund them and how, you know, what the implications are. There's a lot less, I think it's fair to say now that there's a lot less flying by the seat of our pants than there used to be. Mm-hmm. And I think that's to the town's credit. I think we've also, you know, I think Libby's grown a lot in her job. I think we've brought, over the last 6 years, a higher level of professionalism into the town. Libby's made some great hires. Greg Tivnan, the assistant town manager, is very capable, great guy. So I think the town's much more professionally run than it was even 6 or 7 years ago.
Libby had nobody to turn to. She was her own persona there. Yeah. I remember I had to push the heck out of her to go up to Harvard to take the.
Which was a great thing to do. And I know Libby's very pleased to have us all involved in her business all the time now. She loves that.
Oh, she just adores having us nose around. Yeah. And beyond that, what are some of the other issues?
Well, you know, I mean, one of the best things about being a selectman is the fact that people want to talk to you about issues. And you know this as well as I do. In fact, Patty and I were talking about this last night before the meeting. This community's, I think, very engaged, and I don't know if it's because we're more insular, because we're kind of all in this together in a very literal sense geographically, but people seem to really pay attention to what's going on in their community and how their community is being run. And you know, that can be frustrating sometimes, but you know, in some, I think it's really great. And I love people coming up to me and talking to me about issues on the street, having questions about things. I love being able to take things back to Libby or whoever and say, geez, the citizens are, you know, concerned about this, and what can we do about that? That's one of the more gratifying parts.
One of the things I noticed when I first came here, I used to find out what was going on from the newspapers. Mm-hmm. Now I find out what's going on from the people that are actually doing it. Yep. And then I'm finding out you push here and it jumps up over there, and the intermingling of things is, but it becomes very frustrating because you touch this and you find out that you can't do it because of this.
Right. Well, you know, when I first got elected, I think probably most selectmen go through this. You know, when you're first elected, you go in and you think, I'm going to change this, 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 and this. Mm-hmm. And you get in and you find out, things don't really work that way. Things take a lot longer. There's a lot more working together and compromise and discussion involved than just flipping switches and making changes. So, and that's challenging, but it's great work. I mean, it keeps your mind going. You know how much work goes into this job. It's a big job. This isn't you couldn't run this town anymore by going down to the tap room after the meeting and figuring out how we're going to do it.
Yeah, they used to run the meeting after the meeting from the tap room. You can't do that anymore.
Can't do that. I mean, legally you can't do it.
Yeah.
But the town's just, it's a big, complex, $100 million operation now, and it requires a lot more than that kind of seat of the pants.
I can remember when Bernie Grossman became selectman. I said, my gosh, the town is changing. This is the first non-pure Nantucketer on the Board of Selectmen, and something's happened here.
Yeah.
And now what's happened, I can see, is that people such as yourself and myself did not go to high school here.
Right, yeah.
And so you have an insurgence of non-pure Nantucketers.
Yep. Well, and I think it's also an insurgence of people. I mean, we take an interest in what's going on here because we've chosen to be here. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about that. Not that there isn't a lot to be said for being a native Nantucketer, there is. But I think those of us who have chosen to make this our home take a particular interest in keeping it, you know, as good as it can be. And I mean, people like, you know, I think yourself, Finn Murphy, Matt Fee, who is a, you know, born and bred Nantucketer, but these and Bernie and Skip Cabot, people like that over the years, I think, started the ball rolling to getting us to start running the thing like the big, complex, expensive operation that it is, and not by the seat of our pants anymore. And I think that's to our credit, definitely.
And it's a complex town.
It is.
It's as complex as Boston is.
Yep.
We got our own airport.
Yeah, well, we go to the,
yeah.
you know, you've been to the MMA conference, which is coming up, and you go to these things where there's selectmen from all over the state, and we have a marine department, and we have our own wastewater management, we have our own solid waste management, we have the second busiest airport in Massachusetts, we have erosion issues and all that, you know, beach management.
Nursing home.
Nursing home. We're like the only town in the world left that has a municipal nursing home. So it is. It's a very complex, expensive proposition running the government here. So, and I think we're getting better at it all the time. I don't think we've gotten there, but we're getting better.
Now, do you think our form of government, the selectman form of government, is the right form of government for this town?
That's a really good question. I really like the open meeting form of government. This is pure democracy, and it's one of the last bastions of pure democracy left in the country. And the fact that we can get together once a year and raise hands and make laws, and the town meeting is the highest authority in the government, I think is really important. I think that the form of government is fine. And you get the right people in the jobs, and it'll go very well. And we've had a number of questions lately that we have had to decide whether to take this to town meeting and put it before the voters or not. And my default mode is always, if we can get the voters involved and get them to make the decisions, that's the proper way to go. So.
Now, I know you were discussing or concerned about moving the center of gravity out of town or keeping it in town.
Yeah.
Where do you stand nowadays?
Well, I'm very much in the keep government downtown camp. Downtown seems to be losing, you know, activity all the time, and I'm hoping with the reconstitution of the Dreamland Theater, I think Wendy Schmidt's facility up there by the Jared Coffin House is going to bring some life back into town. And I know, I don't just think, I know that having town offices downtown is a key factor to keeping downtown alive all year round. And you know, back in, I think it was '97, town meeting passed the law that to move town departments out of town required a vote of town meeting. Now, I don't see anything wrong with that. Moving town departments out of town is a big decision. It takes a lot of time, and certainly we can go to the trouble of going to town meeting with a warrant article, asking the voters if they think that's okay with them. And to me, to rescind that law is to say, no, we don't want. I mean, there's something very Kafkaesque. The response that I got from one of my fellow selectmen last night about this, when I said, why don't we just leave the law in place and ask the town meeting if we can move the department out of town? And he said, well, why don't we just ask the town meeting if we don't have to ask them anymore, if we can do that? And there's a very Kafkaesque logic to that, to me. I think the law is fine the way it is, and we should keep it the way it is.
Now, have we touched on any one of your hot spots, or we left any of your hot spots off?
No, my hot spots have cooled significantly lately. I've never been happier about my life. I'm going to be able to spend time with my daughter. I'm certainly, you can imagine, not going to stop paying attention to town politics and local issues. I'll still be around.
You're going to be sitting in the back row with Jack?
Yeah, I'll be sitting back there with Jack Gardner, the elder statesman, former selectman. And I'm not going, by the way, to the Finance Committee where former selectmen go after they're on the board of selectmen.
I see. That's the elephant graveyard of selectmen.
I think I'll skip that step and just I'll kibitz for a while.
You're going to play golf or something like that?
I don't play golf. I don't. No, I played golf twice. I was actually pretty good at it, so I decided not to do it anymore. Because it's the kind of thing I'd rather keep my family and livelihood. And my understanding of golf is once you get hooked, there goes your family and your livelihood.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Well,
I'd rather do other things.
All of my friends are playing golf.
Yeah.
You've got to play golf. I said, no, it's too far away. It's out in Wisconsin. I can't get there. I resigned from the golf club out there 30 or 40 years
I'd
ago.
rather live a life than be a golfer, I guess. I'm sorry to all you golfers out there. I don't know what that means.
Okay. Well, it's been great having you
Thanks,
here.
Thanks, Whitey. And I enjoy your show. It's great to be on.
I hope you'll continue to watch it and support all of our customers and such things like that.
Sure
because we got to keep Gino alive.
Absolutely. Here. No, we wouldn't be the community we are without Gino. No question.
Okay. Thank you.